This episode was a lot. This episode was a lot, but in a more like informative way. But like the information that was dropped on us this episode. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Megan's View, and we are back with another debrief of Secret Invasion episode 2 this time. So I just want to get right into it. Throughout the episode, to help me keep on track with like pivotal points that I wanted to discuss within the debriefs, I was keeping like, I was voice recording like at 13:36. This is what I'm thinking. So I wanted to keep on track a bit more to make sure I'm not losing my thoughts. So let's just get into it. This episode was really good. This episode was really good in the fact of kind of like giving us a more backstory. When we start off in episode 1, it's just more so where are they now, what's happening right now, with no context as to where we're meeting them at. It's just we're just kind of thrown into things and introducing all the new characters. So now with episode 2, we got a bit more backstory, which is what we definitely needed to have more context into what has happened and why we are here now. So starting off, it just solidified that Maria is gone because they had to send her off back to the States so her next of kin can come through, which was her mom. So that was really hard and gut-wrenching. But right before we get to that, it just gave us, like I was saying, background context as to the situation we're in in regard to the the Skrulls and humans. So it gave us a montage flashback of what happened in Captain Marvel, the introduction that we got to them. And then with that montage, was just like old footage of what we already saw. We then go, so Captain Marvel was set in 1994. So then they fast forward 3 years, 1997. We see that the aftermath of where we saw them in Captain Marvel, we see them in 1997 more disheveled, and it's less of them. Basically, when we meet them in 1997, it's now known that, I'm assuming from what I'm gathering, what made sense in my mind was that, obviously, the Kree was not done with the Skrulls, and they went after them even though they were with Nick and they were trying to find them a new home, Captain Marvel included, trying to find them a new home, and that obviously blew up in their face because I guess it was a last stand with the Kree involving the Skrulls, and it basically decimated, like, it took out a lot of the Skrulls who were trying to find their new home and left in disarray. So the remaining few who are with, and I mean everybody, like even those who were on the ship last time we saw them in 1994, everybody was just scattered. So like throughout time, I guess since then, they were trying to find each other to you know, regroup. And basically you see that the remaining Skrulls who were with Nick and Talos and other few were gathering around trying to regroup, and Nick Fury's promise was to find him a new home so they can, you know, be safe again. And that's where in 1997 Gravik meets Fury for the first time. Gravik is like a teen boy who his parents were taken off grid due to the last stand with the Kree. So he was the only sole survivor from his family, and was brought to Nick in regards to, you know, taking up for the cause of trying to help them find a new home. But the deal was that Fury was like, if you help us, like if you help me protect Earth, I would definitely help you guys find a new home. So that was the promise that was made, and they all agreed to take on forms of humans to live among society to help Nick, you know, defend Earth. Which I'm assuming that most of them probably were a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. because, I mean, hello, that would make sense. That's what I'm assuming. So they basically assimilated into Earth. So now we go back into present time. Like I said, Maria's final sign off, I guess.
Sorrows, prayers.
Maria's final sign off, and Maria's mom, you know, obviously heartbroken, was trying to get some information into what happened to her daughter. And of course, with top secret ops and stuff like that, everybody's trying to keep hush lip, but Nick told her as much as he could about what happened. And she's just like, you know, whatever my daughter was helping you with, you better make sure that it's solved. So this is not in vain. Like, you need to solve this, because what? And it just goes on from there. So because of what happened first episode, the tragic events with the boom 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 boom, it's taking news coverage. And of course, we have this montage of news reportings coming out of this political commentator, prime ministers, NATO officials. Well, I think he was the head of NATO, and people all talking about this because they were investigating the incident, obviously, and the captors they caught, the Skrulls they caught who were in human forms, were saying they were American. So everything was pointing to the United States had a hand in this, and it's looking like Russia is looking to retaliate back against, because what is this all about? Like, it's starting a war. And what this is basically doing is to make everybody at odds with each other. Like, nations are going to be at odds. That's, I'm assuming, it's the plan of the Skrulls, is to make different nations at odds with each other, so like humans can like be at war with each other while they're like taking over. So that's what basically their plan is, and that's what we see happen with the montage, breaking news, and all that kind of stuff. But I mentioned this montage because this was a shock to me. The next scene, we see Gravik going into this secret meeting with God. And that was like, okay, like, you know, I'm just like watching and like, okay, so what other evil plan are they hatching out? I see the political commentator who was there. I see the prime minister. I see the NATO head. I'm like, what is this? Like, what are y'all doing here? And then it took me a minute. I'm like, oh, so y'all are in cahoots. They're Skrulls.
Okay. Now I see. Now I see what's going on here. Y'all are in goddamn cahoots. Sure are. Sure are.
They're Skrulls. I'm like, they have to be Skrulls. And because like, and then of course, as their conversation happens, is basically their council of Skrulls, and they basically made Gravik their head general. And I'm assuming before it used to be either Talos or I wouldn't think it would be Nick, but you know, before the Skrulls and humans had like a pact due to Nick, but now that we see that has fallen off and all where we at right now, obviously they're separated, and now they made their own council and have made Gravik their head council, because everything is following into plan of making Earth their home. They have been on this, they're determined to make Earth their home. And I'm shocked because I'm just like, it's just like I always refer back to the book. Wow, they're really taking over Earth. They really want Earth, and they're already infiltrated like within society, different nations, different. They're among us. They're among us, and I'm like, what? One that should never end. I was shocked. I was like, okay, I don't know if you guys can hear this. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my chair squeaking, but it's squeaking. Don't mind it. Anyway, but I was shocked. I'm like, dang. Like, the head of NATO, prime ministers, political commentators. I'm like, and they're feeding into the narrative. They're like, you know, playing their part, but with their own hidden agenda. And that's really scary because it's just the daunting fact that the Skrulls are among us, having their own hidden agenda, trying to take over Earth. They will stop at nothing, no cost. And at first, the council were like, Gravik, you have no remorse. You literally killed innocent people. Like, what do you have to say about this? Like, you can't do this. Like, innocents, like, you know, little ones, everybody, like, they're these casualties. What are you doing? And he's like, it's our turn. Like, we doing this. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. And then out of nowhere, the prime minister, she comes out and she's like, Gravik's right. And basically they pledge their allegiance to Gravik and his cause of how he's doing it. All but one bows to Gravik, and the other one who doesn't bow to Gravik, I believe she was also prime minister, she calls Talos up and was like, the council just made Gravik the head of the council and it's bad, you need to do something. And she was like, and Talos was like, what do you, like, I need to meet with him, I need to talk to him, so you need to set up a meeting, that's what you can do for me right now. And she's like, that Gravik will, you know, he'll end you. He was like, girl, just let me talk to him. So that was crazy. And another pivotal point was seeing that the Skrulls are also enlisting the help of a scientist. Is she Skrull? I don't. If I'm saying Kree in this again, I'm going to lose my mind. There's a machine that the Skrulls are building. I don't know if the doctor, what's her name, Rose Dawson, I don't know if she is a Skrull or not. Either way, they are building some type of machine, and what we are meant to believe is that machine is going to make the Skrulls stronger. I think it's just gonna be able to produce more Skrulls from humans. That's what I think, but I don't know. But what they said was to make it stronger. I don't know if he was lying or not, but whatever. So what I also forgot to mention was that before we see the meeting with the Skrull people meeting up as a council, Nick was telling like a little, it reminded me what Nick just did of him telling Talos a bit about his upbringing. He's from Alabama. But when he was telling Talos about his upbringing, about what him and his mom used to do, it reminded me of what he did in Captain America Winter Soldier when he told Cap a little tidbit about his grandfather in the elevator, which basically was a setup for him to explain what he was doing in Captain America. And then this in Secret Invasion, he basically kind of he explained that him and his mom used to play this game about tell me something I didn't know. And even when Nick paraphrased something to be more PG for his mom knew the truth. This didn't even know. He didn't say everything explicitly. So he did it with Talos of like, okay, tell me something I don't know about the Korean Skrull War or something like that. And from there, Talos tells us that, oh, 1 million Skrulls have already been on Earth for a while now. Nick was like, why am I just not hearing about this? He was like, I didn't know if I could trust you. And I'm like, I was shocked. But I'm like, okay, it makes sense because obviously Marvel, Captain Marvel, obviously was already on Earth and had promised the Skrulls to find a new place. So I'm like, okay, it's tracking as to that. But wow, 20 some odd years later, you're just now telling Nick, because mind you, you guys first met in 97. And okay, like, y'all didn't meet on trustworthy terms immediately. It took a minute. But like, you just now telling him now, after like how long, like y'all been built this trust. He knows your family. He helped you find the ship that had your family on it. You just now telling him that, oh, during the war, the initial war, million of y'all fled to Earth. So many of them was already on Earth before the rest of them were on the ship with Nick trying to find him a new home. So what were we gonna do about them who was already here? You know, like what is that about, Talos? I was shocked. I'm like, so like it just, you know, once again it's just, they're just continuously like letting us know how deep this runs of this has been going on for a long, this war of Earth versus the Skrulls have been going on before we even know, because they have assimilated within us already. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's a lot to take in. And so Taylor, you was okay and ready to let those Skrulls stay on Earth while you and the rest, including your family at the time, was gonna go find a new place. Like, that was crazy. That was a lot. So skipping forward a bit, Rhodey is now in the UK. I'm not sure if he's in Russia. I don't. No, they're in London, I think. I don't know. I don't know. Remember. But Rhodey's in the UK, and he's there on the behalf of the President of the United States, and he's answering to the council about why was Nick Fury at the scene of the incident. And you know, he's trying to do his best to like be like, we're investigating, we're not sure if that's even Nick, because let's be serious, people can make things up, to be quite honest. This could be fraudulent. And he was like, I'm not really believing what the Russians are putting out there, because they could have made it up. So allegedly Nick Fury is there, allegedly. And one of the members was not having it, kept rolling her eyes, and I'm just like,
bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
but anyway, so after Rhodey finishes up there, Nick calls him and they meet up. Let me tell you something about that scene. That was intense, and all I'm thinking about right now is a seafood boil. But no, it was really intense because they were both like, you know, hitting each other with like, they were hitting each other with like what their statements of what they were saying to each other about them being black men in these and having this power of, you know, being like leaders in their capacity. And it did not end well, their discussion, because it just got tense and tense and tense, to the fact that Rhodey said to Nick mother effing Fury, he told Nick, you're done, you're fired. Me and Fury had the same face. We draw back like, what? Nick Fury fired? Please be so for real. Nick Fury was like, you must be joking. Like, you're not talking to me. Like, you cannot fire Nick Fury. So my thing is to, within this conversation, Nick starts to ask like, Rhodey, what do you know about, what do you, like, his Rhodey's like security guard just kept doing too much. Like, he kept into like coming in and being like, oh, they finished their drink, let me pour them another one real quick, or hey, the car is ready. Like, he was doing a lot, right? So then Nick was like, how much do you trust your security guard, and you know, all that kind of stuff, because what if I tell you like he could be a shape-shifting alien who is impersonating a human being? And basically Nick was like telling Rhodey what it seemed to be like for the first time about the Skrulls. And Rhodey was like, I mean, there was this one time I was a part of this like briefing, and they kind of alluded to this alien race that can do that, and they kind of showed us the pictures, but for a while that was a myth or something like that, and nothing really came up of it. So I'm just like, okay, let's pause there. What is Nick doing on Saber? Is Saber what Iron Man was trying, like, an idea that came from Iron Man? Like, obviously we didn't really see Iron Man build anything to fruition from our knowledge, at least from my knowledge, of building our armor around the world to prevent us from, you know, alien attacks and stuff like that, right? So is that Saber? Because what I thought Saber was What did I think Saber was? I thought, I don't know why, I guess, because now I'm thinking about it, what would allude to that? But what I thought Saber was the ship we last saw Nick on with the, no, Nick was not on the ship. But what I thought Saber was I guess that would explain Sword, right? I can't finish the sentence because more things are just popping into my mind. I initially thought Saber was something that the Skrulls were a part of, because obviously, let's revert back to Spider-Man. Talos knew that Nick was up there, so I just, you know, used my powers of assumption to be like, Saber has something to do with helping the Skrulls, and the Skrulls that we know of, aka Talos. Maria knew Talos, so I was just making a lot of assumptions. Boy, was I wrong, because Saber has nothing to do with the Skrulls, helping out the Skrulls. Like, what is Saber? I'm assuming it's going to be a part of Sword, and we're going to see more of that in the Marvels coming up later on this year. So I was shocked on that part, and that was a discovery. So we need to figure that out. So now, we're moving forward after Nick was supposedly fired by Rhodey. Nick is just a mess. He was like stumbling out of the meeting. I thought they had like put something in his drink, but they didn't. But he was stumbling out of the meeting, and he just needed to regather himself. So Nick was down bad. For real, for real. Then we see, let me look back at my notes actually. What happened after that really blew me? Oh. And pause on that real quick. When did people start knowing that Fury was alive? I knew a selected few knew. The Avengers obviously knew. But the public didn't. Other government officials didn't, unless like it was top priority. Like, for example, I understand that the president would know, because obviously probably Nick already made his, like, you know, they probably met in the past before that we didn't see, and obviously that's why Nick is in Saber. But when did people start knowing that Nick Fury was alive? At least like other like government officials who don't need to know about, who like don't know about Saber. Like, what was that known? Because in Winter Soldier, he was killed. Obviously, we knew he survived. Obviously. But he kept his tombstone to be like, hey, anybody looking for me, tell them to find me right here. I'm not, you know, I'm a ghost now. And many, like the public eye, did not know that Nick Fury was alive. When did that happen? If something I am forgetting, just remind me. Explain it down below. Great. If not, what's happening there? So let's move on. The episode was really more so of like cleaning up shop of what happened. In the first episode, we see Gravik go ahead and take care of a loose end. They captured one of the people who I told y'all that he was claiming that he was an American. They captured him, and they were trying to like basically interrogate him as to, you know, who he worked for, what he was doing, all that type of stuff. He wasn't giving him nothing, obviously, until Sonya comes in, works her magic, and gets some answers as to what the Skrulls are behind, like what they're doing or whatever, and then she escapes. However, we see that Sonya is like, she's working for somebody. Obviously, Sonya is against the Skrulls. We see that, like, you know, she knows about them, and she is trying to clean up shop and like basically eradicate all the Skrulls who are on Earth. But she's obviously working for someone. We don't know who she's working for. So, and I don't know what capacity we even know Sonya of. Like, we just know that she has her goons with her. We know that she is almost like a Nick Fury in that regard as well too, who just knows people and who, you know, can make things shake. But to what capacity, don't know. And we need to see who she's working for. And of course, Gravik and his other conglomerates come and save this loose end of a person, beat up a whole bunch of people, and they save him just to tie up that loose end, and I'll just leave that there. So that's what happens. And then to close out the episode, we find out something. We find out. And I knew they set the scene up perfectly. Fury, like the last time we saw Fury from my recollection, Fury, like I said, was down bad. He was like groveling, like, oh my god, like it looked like he just kind of like broke down, like, oh my gosh. So now we see Fury walking into a house that's playing what is Otis? I can't remember his last name. But they're playing a song, very familiar song. And I'm just like, this is seeming a little too homey. This is seeming like, you know, grounded. Seeming like a family, you know? I'm like, ooh, what are we walking into? And then you know, he's walking in, we see a squirrel cooking, you know, a lady squirrel cooking. And this lady was in the beginning of the episode. She's the one who introduced Fury to Gravik, saying that Fury, this kid was the last sole survivor of his family, right? That's the first time we see her. So I recognize her immediately. I'm like, hey girl, what you doing here? What is Fury doing here? Actually, this looks like it's your house, you know? Then Fury comes in, we pass her again, like the camera pans over to her again, but she's in human form this time. I'm like, oh, okay, hey sis. And she's like, you're forgetting something. And Fury goes back, picks up something. I thought he was taking off his shoes, like, why are you walking around the house with your shoes on? He picks up something instead. Puts on a ring! He puts on a ring! He puts on a ring. They embrace! They embrace because that's his wife. That is his wife. Nick Fury is married. Boom, 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 boom. Nick Fury is married to a squirrel. Ah! So, like, it took me back once again to Captain America Winter Soldier, which is one of my favorite MCU movies of all time. That movie is just mwah. But it took me back to then, because when after Nick was attacked by Hydra on the road and he needed to seek refuge, and he broke into Cap's apartment, he was talking in code like, my old lady's mad at me, we got into a fight. And then Cap was like, I didn't know you were married. And then he was like, Nick was like, not many know, or whatever like that. And then Cap was like, see, that's your problem, Nick, you keep too many secrets. I thought he was just, you know, talking in code. Bro was telling the truth. What if his wife was mad at him? But obviously, like, they live in the UK. I don't know if he made it back to the States. Obviously he did not, right? Nick Fury is married. And that was an Easter egg for me. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. So that is where the episode wrapped up at. And I'm excited for episode 3 because we're gonna see, I think next episode is when we're gonna see Talos multiply, because Gravik. Next episode is when we're gonna see Gravik multiply, because him and Talos are finally gonna meet up and talk. And we need to just see all these questions that are being asked. They need to be answered, because now we're down to 4 episodes. So I'm excited. Are you excited? Let me know your thoughts about the episode down below. How you think, what are we like assuming moving forward? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Okay, I'm really excited. Sorry, I'm really excited. But that's gonna wrap it up. That's gonna do it for this debrief episode 2. I will see you guys next time. Adios. Bye.